Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers of Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers of Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers of Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us. I was kinda late, so I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all! Welcome to a new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. Happy Monday night. I know right now that I might be competing with Monday Night Football, and my favorite football team, the Raiders, are playing at this very moment, or maybe even a little bit later. But I'm here to talk about some wrestling with you. Of course, I'm your girl Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of this fabulous platform, HWP Extra, and of course, Steph and Cat Talk Wild with Katrina Blake of In Cat We Trust, contributing writer for Daily DDT, and color commentator featured on various promotions. And I am so happy to be before you on this night of all nights. Like, it's just a lot of craziness going on in the world of professional wrestling. But I wanted to come before you guys and discuss it. So, of course, if you guys are watching live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any other way, shape, or form, or if you're listening or watching this later, thank you so very much for all the love and support and for thinking that I'm interesting enough to listen to when it comes to this crazy world of professional wrestling. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow on all the things, and just continue to support your girl as she's growing. So, of course, in the midst of everything, I also want to thank everybody for wishing me a happy birthday. I did turn 32, and I had a cool present in the form of AJ Lee making her big return the day after my birthday. So that was pretty lit for the most part. And of course, if you have not already, please go and listen and watch that episode I did with Ella J. Our the very first HWP emergency pod talking about AJ Lee's return on SmackDown. It was nuts. We had so much fun together talking about this amazing women's wrestling return. And we just had a lot of fun doing it. So please go and watch it or listen to it if you have not already. So, as we collectively just gather and just get ready for what this weekend has in store for us in terms of WrestlePalooza and also AEW all in Toronto. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get all in and all out mixed up because they're just both have all between them. And forgive me, do not charge it to my head and not to my heart, please. But of course, if there's anything that's on the video that resonates with you, and if you want to chime in, of course, light up the chat in the comments, and your comment might show up on the screen. So, of course, now we go into the beginning of the show, which is. Ba, 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 ba. Oh my God, technical difficulties. News and gossipish. Of course, we're going to talk about all the ins and outs of professional wrestling gossip throughout the past week and even into today. And of course, one of the biggest pieces of news that we got last week into the weekend was WrestleMania's destination in 2027. Of course, if you watched that press conference this past weekend, you know that WrestleMania 43 is going to be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in 2027. Of course, that's the year after next because next year they will be having WrestleMania in Las Vegas again. So, of course, I went to Las Vegas and had, a lot of fun and everything. And a part of me was kind of wondering, like, where are they going to put WrestleMania in 2027 if they're having it in Vegas again? There was a part of me that was definitely looking forward to it being in New Orleans, but then plans changed and they moved it to Las Vegas again. And now this WrestleMania 43 is going to be the first WrestleMania to ever take place out of the United States. So this is going to be a bit different, but of course, this feeds into the deal that they've had with Saudi Arabia for a very long time now. And a part of me felt like it was only a matter of time before they had a WrestleMania there, considering they're having Royal Rumble there next year. So I was like, okay, so I guess maybe within the next few years they'll have a WrestleMania, but now it's really coming up like right there. And of course, it put a lot of people in their feelings. There were a lot of people who felt a certain way here in the United States because they felt like, well, it's not going to be close to us. A lot of what we know surrounding WrestleMania, and not just the event itself, is now called into question, from conventions to the indies and so many other things that are centered around WrestleMania um is in danger of not happening now simply because it's being moved to a different country. You had other people who felt like it should have gone to the UK first before it went anywhere else. Like there was just a lot of feelings. But I do want to express my feelings because there seems to be a lot of angry sentiment. Um and this might be an unpopular opinion to some, but I wasn't upset about it because, like I said earlier, I felt like it was only a matter of time before, this was gonna happen, but I just didn't think it was gonna be this quick. But this is where we are, and it's gonna be in Saudi Arabia, and it's probably gonna be the first WrestleMania that's gonna be like early in the afternoon where we can watch from the US. And I'm not too angry about it. I guess they've been doing it for so long now that it's just like, okay, you're going to Saudi Arabia, great. And with all the politics and stuff that's involved with it, I've tried my best not to discuss it on here because there's a lot that I know, but then there's also a lot that I don't know at the very same time. And I just don't want to be that person to say that a country doesn't deserve something because, you know, there's so many reasons why so many places might not deserve a thing or shouldn't have a thing and all of the above. But at the end of the day, wrestling fans are everywhere. The WWE universe isn't just falling under um people from the United States. It's literally everybody from all around the world. In the years where I've gone to WrestleMania and even before then, there are people from there's a person or at least three people from every country who are flying here to the United States to be a part of WrestleMania because they love it so very much. And that's real passion from all over the world. And it's been like that for coming up on 42 years. So at this rate, I mean, it might be on the other side of the world, and it's great for that fan base, for Saudi Arabia, because I'm more than sure there are a lot of people who wanted to go to WrestleMania but couldn't on that side as well. But hey, that's just where it is. And I guess from my perspective, I guess because I'm just satisfied now with, what I've been able to see, that I'm just not too angry about it. But of course, everybody's entitled to their feelings. Everybody's feelings are 100% valid, and I will never say that it's not. But I just know, as for me, I'm just not too upset about it. It just is what it is. And yeah, but the only thing that I am feeling a little bit of very weird about is just the placement of all the indie shows and all the other promotions that have shows centered around WrestleMania, like I mentioned earlier. But I'm more than sure that since the indies have been creative and have sustained and lasted this long, I'm more than sure that another way will be found in order for them to thrive during a weekend that's normal for a WrestleMania to happen in the United States. But I know that has to throw a wrench into a lot of people's plans. But at the same time, Wrestling is not only just a sport, it's also an art. And when it comes to art, you have to be creative enough to create a new way of doing things. So hopefully, because of course we do have time, it's in 2 years, um, things will be figured out by then and everyone will figure out a way to move about. But hey, this is where we are. WrestleMania 43 is in Saudi Arabia. And I did see a lot of people on Twitter who were sort of talking about it as if this was the end all be all, as if this was just going to be the last WrestleMania, like ever, as if to say, oh, well, they're never coming back to the US. And I just don't feel like that's the case. I just feel like to a degree there was a lot of catastrophizing of certain things. But at the end of the day, yeah, they've made their decision and a person who I once loved once upon a time said WWE doesn't care about your feelings. So, hey, this is where we're at. But in the meantime, WrestleMania is still the show of shows. It's still going to be full of grandeur and everything else, except a new fan base. Well, not a new fan base, but a new country gets to house it. And, that fan base gets to have a good time with it the same way we've had a good time with it for so long. So, yeah, that's where we're at with that. Now, moving into more news and gossipish in terms of things involving money, we have the UFC president. I believe his last name is Shapiro, but I want to say his first name is Mark. Please forgive me if I'm getting this wrong. Released a statement via Goldman Sachs, I think it was, and he was talking about the ticket prices and how WWE's ticket prices hadn't really capitalized on their wealth in the last in over the past few decades, and saying that the ticket prices have risen greatly due to the fact that they're actually taking advantage, of the opportunity of, cashing in on what's going on with the company and all of the above, with it being on fire. And here again, this put a lot of wrestling fans in their feelings due to the notion of ticket prices just being really high. Oh, I got a comment. Oh, wrong button. I got a comment. Hopefully I can get it on here. Okay, Patrick, thank you. Saying Mark is his first name. You got it right. Okay, thank you very much. Mark Shapiro was talking about the pricing of tickets. And here, not even here lately, but over the first part of this year, a lot of fans had noticed and spoke out about it on social media about how they feel like WWE is pricing out their fans because the tickets are rising. And I can even tell a story of how when Raw was getting ready to come to Birmingham in July, where there were tickets that um my friends or other people I know had tried to purchase, and they had purchased them before, but they didn't cost as much. But this year they cost like way above what they normally would. And they don't like the idea that they can't buy those tickets because they're not as affordable. And that breaks my heart because with Mark Shapiro saying what he said about WWE being priced in terms of keeping families in mind, which is what Vince in the prior what's the word am I looking for? Regime in the prior regime, they would always keep the families in mind, and it doesn't seem like, from a business perspective, they're doing that with TKO. And that really sucks because for as long as I can remember, my father was able to build those memories with me and my sister later on because he was able to buy whatever tickets he could, for us to see the show whenever we expressed interest in going to the show. And I don't want it to get to a point where families like me and my dad and my sister and so many other families can't go simply because it costs too much, because of course the economy is crazy. Things, are higher than usual and people are trying to, keep their heads above water. But in the midst of us keeping our heads above water, we want to still feel like we can still have a good time and see the show that helps us escape from those hard times. And if we can't do that, then what hope is there or what is there to truly look forward to? I feel like it's kind of tone deaf, for them to consistently say, oh, we're just going to raise the prices. We're just going to raise the prices. But at the same time, there are families, there are kids, there are people who don't just want to watch it on TV. They want to see it live. They want to have that experience. They want to experience a Raw or a SmackDown or a PLE or something like that, or even a house show at the very least. So hopefully at some point there'll be, I want there to be more collaboration instead of, oh, we're going to do this and you're just going to have to get over it. Because that just sort of widens the gap between rich people who just don't get it because they have everything and people who are middle class to poor who are trying to make ends meet but still try to have a good time and make dreams come true. Um, yeah, I just want them to do better and to think more about their fan base as a whole. Patrick in the comments on Facebook, thank you for watching, by the way, say, I feel like WWE is catering to a different demographic. It seems like they're catering to people who are wealthy, which is unfair. Yeah, that is unfair because, like I said, like there are ordinary people who want to see those shows and have a good time at those shows, and to price out people who can't afford it is just really not fair. So I'm hoping down the line that's something they can consider a bit more, even though I know a lot of people have mentioned things about possibly TKO being in debt. I'm not sure about that. I'm not a business person, so I can't speak to that. But at the same time, just be a little bit more considerate on the little guy is what I'm saying. So yeah, we're just gonna hope for the best when it comes to that. Also, I just find it interesting that in the realm of TKO and also the announcement that they made about WrestleMania, all of this was made on the 2 year anniversary of them announcing the merger with UFC and WWE to create TKO, and I just think that's the timing of things is very interesting, or at least not the announcement, but just the official merger itself taking place because they announced it like around WrestleMania time a couple years ago. So, yeah, I just think the timing of things is very interesting with that, but hopefully things will get better in that regard. Also, speaking of wrestling shows happening live, we have WoW, of course. I try my best to talk about WoW on Steph and Cat Talk WoW most of the time, but this was something that I just wanted to bring up on my show just to celebrate and just be happy about. WoW Women of Wrestling is having live shows and live tapings next month on October the 14th and the 15th, and October the 21st and the 22nd at Fremont Street Experience in Las Vegas. Because, oh my God. I'm just so happy for them because, of course, their fourth season did start this past weekend, even though it was more of a recap episode, which we will get into on Steph and Cat Talk WoW later this week. It's just the principle of them making it to 4 seasons at this point with this revamped version of WoW, and just knowing that they're having, these live tapings in such a historic district of Las Vegas is just so cool, and I'm so happy for all of those ladies there. And I want to go so bad. I want to go so bad. I've been to Las Vegas one time this year and I said that was it, but then WoW said hold my beer. They said nah. And it's just kind of like I want to go so bad because I just want to see my ladies. I haven't seen them in so long. So they're having those shows, and the shows are free of charge, but you can get tickets to meet and greets if you want to. If you're in the Nevada area, I do suggest that you do check out WoW because these are women in wrestling kicking all kinds of butt. Um, from various forms of athleticism, from wrestling to different sports and all of the above. These women are amazing and they will put on a good show for you. So please, please, please go see them. Go see them. Go see them. It's amazing. And of course, we'll talk more about it later this week, like I said, on Steph and Cat Talk Wow. But I'm just so happy for them, and I just want to wish them congratulations for season 4 and for the taping of these episodes in a new historic backdrop, which speaks to the history of WoW and Glow, and I'm just really happy about that. So big ups to y'all. I love y'all down so much. So got another comment. WrestlePalooza match card looks good. We'll get to WrestlePalooza in a minute. I'll be talking about my predictions a little later. Another interesting tidbit in the world of wrestling was the news of Andrade's sudden release. Of course, The news broke out this weekend that he had been released from the company, but it was very quiet because they moved his name to the alumni section, and it was reported by Fightful and also by Bodyslam.net with Corey, my guy Corey. Big ups to you and all the work that you do. Love you all the way down. Andrade is no longer with the company, and rumors have been reported by Sports Illustrated and so many other places that a lot of it had to do with him possibly traveling and not being able to be contacted by WWE at all. They weren't able to get in contact with him. And it might also have to possibly do, this is a rumor, this is alleged, so don't take this as gospel, please. Um, that he might have had a wellness policy violation as well. But oh my gosh, this devastated me because number one, he's so talented, and number two, it felt like he just got back like 2 years ago. Because of course he was in WWE, but then he left and then he went to AEW after doing other things in wrestling, and then he stayed there for a while and then left and then came back to WWE. And the bulk of what he did in WWE was, of course, fighting for the United States Championship, which he never really won, and then having those best of seven series matches with my guy Carmelo Hayes, which were absolutely amazing. And if you have not watched those matches, I suggest you do. Lock in, sit down, get you some popcorn because those matches are fantastic. And of course, in terms of like game six, as what Carmelo would call it, it got interrupted by LA Knight because they were all, like I said, beefing with each other. But their last match, their last encounter, was at the SmackDown before WrestleMania, where they were both the final two in this year's Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which freaked me out because I was there, and I was freaking out because I was just like, oh my God, I hope Carmelo really makes it, to win this whole thing. And he made it, and then his second person was Andrade, and I said, thank you, Jesus, because I knew they were going to tear it down. And Carmella wound up winning. And then the last time we really saw Andrade on TV was because of him tagging with Ray Phoenix. And then after that point, you just didn't see him anymore. And then it also bums me out because he is one of my boyfriend's favorites. So, oh my God, it made me so sad. And then there was a part of me that was really hoping that him and Zelina would have more of an interaction too, just for the one time. But it just wound up not happening. But I do wish him the very best in whatever it is that he chooses to do next. I will miss him on TV, but here again, I'm just hoping the very best for him. All right, let's go to the comments. No, I keep pressing the wrong button. Okay, Malcolm. Hey, thank you for watching. He said, with WWE leaving Peacock, do you think that will open the door for TNA to join their streaming? And also, do you think ESPN fans are going to watch WWE? That's a good question. A couple of good questions in there, actually. I'm not entirely sure if TNA will join it. I can't say. Because when it comes to TNA, a lot of the people who are making those appearances are just NXT people so far. I'm not sure if they'll do that just yet. I feel like the only way TNA will join their streaming, WWE's streaming platform, would be if WWE acquired them, and I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But I will say, in terms of ESPN fans watching WWE, it does expose wrestling to them, and I'm really happy for that. So maybe they will, maybe they won't, but it will expose them to a lot of people who are just like, oh, I saw them on this sports thing. Maybe I'll give this a try, and that would be really cool. So, hey, you never know. But I am really excited about it. So it's going to be cool. But like I said, big ups to Andrade, and I send him well wishes and good vibes with whatever he chooses to do next. El Idolo. Now, another thing that made me really happy in terms of the news was Shawn Michaels. As they were doing their press for Canelo versus Crawford, in that fight, first of all, congratulations to Terrence Crawford for that wonderful fight and becoming the champion that he is. They were doing press in Las Vegas, and Shawn Michaels made an appearance on Club Shay Shay, I believe, and they asked him, Shannon Sharp asked him, who reminds him the most of, himself. And he actually mentioned Javon Evans. And he gave him lots of great praise and called him basically the future of WWE. And this made me so happy because Javon Evans is one of my favorites. He makes me smile every time I see him because he just reminds me so much of the younger generation that my sister comes from, and just how energetic they can be while also being authentically themselves and not really giving a crap what anybody thinks about it. Like, there's just a lot that I admire from the youth in that generation. I hope I'm trying not to get emotional about it, but I feel like people come down on them really hard a lot, but at the same time, there's still so much that they're getting right. And Javon Evans is a part of that. My sister is a part of that too. So I just love seeing him blossom every week, especially with how he performed this past Tuesday in his match against Josh Briggs. He just continues to wow me every time I see him. And I was just really happy to see that one of my faves was actually giving him his props and talking about how great he is. So that was amazing. And I want Javon to be NXT champion so bad. Like, I really do. But we just gotta wait for things, and I'm just happy that he, bigged him up on such a big platform like that on such a big weekend. That was really cool. So, Javon Evans supremacy. And also, in speaking of press that was done for Canelo and Crawford, Stephanie Vaquer and Bianca Belair, our EST and our La Primera, were asked about how they feel about Becky Lynch calling herself the greatest female wrestler of all time. And of course, we know, as Becky reminds us every week, that Sports Illustrated said it, ESPN said it, your mama down the street said it, the church said it, everybody says it. The construction workers at downtown said it, all the stuff. But they didn't seem to have, they tried to keep it cute with how they responded. And essentially what they said was, look, she could back it up in terms of all of her accomplishments that she's made. But of course, the jury is still out on that when the talent pool is just so big in WWE. And that was their way of saying, no, she isn't. And I thought that was really interesting. I love hearing that from them. But honestly, if you ask me my opinion on it, not just from a WWE perspective, but from a women's wrestling perspective as an entire whole, Becky Lynch is not the greatest female wrestler of all time. She just isn't. Not to me anyway. In my opinion, y'all know it's Mercedes Moné. She is the greatest women's wrestler of all time. I've said it. I've written about it with Daily DDT, and there have been other people who have also said it, even early in her career. And quite honestly, Becky is amazing and she has accomplished a lot, but it's Mercedes for me. And I feel like the only reason Becky or anyone else to a degree in WWE is comfortable saying that they're the greatest female wrestler of all time or call themselves the GOAT in WWE, um, in the ramifications, well, not the ramifications, but in the world of WWE is because Mercedes isn't there, honestly. And it's just, yeah, okay. Okay. But, you know, I love everyone, but at the same time, it's always Mercedes. So, yeah, Becky has a lot going on, of course, this weekend, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And then we have Rhea Ripley, who showed up at a concert that was sort of centered on horror, and she got taken away by Art the Clown at an Ice Nine Kills concert. She was carried off the stage by this clown from the Terrifier series. Of course, if you're into horror, you know more about that. But I have seen people online make references to her and this clown, saying that they both kind of look similar and that they hope that she, cosplays him at some point. But I do love seeing wrestlers go on side quests like this to show that they're interested in other things outside of that and just feeding into another fan base to get that fan base into wrestling. I thought this was very interesting, and she looked like she belonged, so that was really cool. She looked really scared and terrified, which was interesting considering I don't think anything really scares her in that regard. But yeah, this was pretty interesting to see, like her at this horror concert. So yeah, Rhea, a lot of people were calling for her to be cast in more horror films because of her performance here, and I wouldn't be against it at all, but I'm not sure if I would watch it because I'm not a horror girl. So yeah, but for those who are into that, I'm happy that your fave got to interact with Rhea, or Rhea, your fave, got to interact with them. So that was pretty cool to see on socials. Also, in more sentimental news and gossipish, we had MVP have an interview with Chris Van Vliet, who is like one of my favorite wrestling interviewers of all time. And hopefully, he could be on my show or I could be on his show. I don't know. He's very busy. Everybody wants to talk to him because he's just so nice and everything. But MVP was on the show, and of course, he's now with AEW as part of the Hurt Syndicate with Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. And there was a point where he was talking about his reaction to Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Championship. And of course, if you've been online in the wrestling community over the past couple of years, you've seen this video of him reacting to Kofi winning the title alongside Shad Gaspard, who was a part of the tag team known as Crime Time with JTG. And sadly, he did pass away while trying to save his son in the ocean in 2020. But they had that moment together where they were watching him win. And in the interview with Chris Van Vliet, he was talking about the importance of representation and how different communities um, had different wrestlers to represent them, and how growing up, MVP didn't have that many representations that he saw growing up. So the idea of watching someone like Kofi, reach his highest potential, and then it's someone that he loves and respects, which is something amazing for him, and hence why he was so very emotional about it. And I can say one thing. It made me very emotional, not just from a representation perspective, but just because I just love Kofi Kingston. I know he's off the rails now with Xavier, and they've of course discarded Big E at this point. But before all of that happened, I I just love Kofi Kingston so much. And I was so invested in Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Championship that I went to church and the Saturday before that WrestleMania and prayed to the Lord and asked him, "Look, Lord, please let Kofi Kingston win the WWE Championship." And then I got baptized that same Saturday wearing a Ghana bracelet because Kofi's from Ghana, and I just wanted to give him any level of good spiritual juju that he needed for that weekend. And then that next Sunday he won, and I screamed and I cried in my boyfriend's lap. I've told this story before on an older episode of HWP, but I could tell that story again and again because I just love everything that the New Day represents in terms of being your authentic self and just having joy and just being themselves. And from watching Kofi Kingston from his debut rise up to that high of a point was just absolutely amazing for me, and it's something I will carry with me for the rest of my life, as a testament to what you can reach for. And I hope that at some point before either him or Xavier retire, either one of them gets another shot at a larger title like that. Whether it's the WWE title or even the World Heavyweight title. I know that right now it's sort of tied up within the Seth Rollins of it all and the bloodline of it all, maybe, and all these other things. But in my mind, I always pictured with this new World Heavyweight Championship that other people would get a chance outside of the regular big people that we always see get a chance. And Xavier would be perfect for it. I feel like Kofi would be perfect for it. And in a perfect world, Big E would be perfect for it. But it's just hard. But either way, Kofi Mania is something I'll never get over. I'll never be over it. It'll always make me happy. And yes, to a degree, you can say that I was thanking God for the New Day before it was popular to thank God for the New Day. So, yeah. And also big ups to Big E as well because his essay that he wrote with Players Tribune, called Sour, wound up being put in a book. So that was really cool. So it was a sports book of best sports writings of 2025. And I'm glad for that. So, yeah. Power to the black wrestlers always. And I believe that really is all for news and gossipish. And now we're going to move to the special segment where now I will be giving my WrestlePalooza predictions. So it's time to put the crystal ball on. So WrestlePalooza is taking place in Indianapolis, I believe at the Lucas Oil. No, not Lucas Oil. At Gainbridge Fieldhouse, maybe. Yeah, that's where it's taking place. I'm really excited about it. And then, of course, this is the first PLE that will be taking place on the brand new ESPN app. So, of course, if you want to download the app, you are more than free to do that. If you're going to watch it any other way, you're free to do that as well. I'll encourage it because times is hard out here. People, you know, got to buy things. So, yeah. And of course, internationally, it comes on Netflix. So, first, for my predictions, we have Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquer for the vacant Women's World Championship. This is hard for me because, in my heart of hearts, I really wanted to see what a Stephanie Vaquer versus Naomi match would have been like at Clash in Paris. Considering Naomi actually retained her title, but life lifed in a very beautiful way, and our girl is pregnant with her first child, so she had to vacate the title. So she vacated it, and Stephanie, who won the Battle Royal at Evolution, didn't get a chance to fight for the title. But then you also have Io, who was promised a championship match on an episode of Raw, but she didn't get that because, of course, Naomi's out. So you have these two women having this opportunity on a big platform like ESPN at this point, and it's huge. There are big implications. You have um, Io, who wants the title back that she lost at Evolution because of that cash in, and then the title that she lost, here again at SummerSlam. But then you have a very hungry Stephanie Vaquer who wants to prove herself on the main roster, since she's been called up and she just wants to be La Primera like we know her to be. And I feel like the crazy X factor in this is the fact that Io Sky wants to do this on her own, but then in the backdrop she has a very possessive Asuka who wants to control her and keep her, to herself and away from other friends and all of the above. And even though Io calmed her down on Raw tonight, I just have this weird feeling that Asuka and even maybe Kyrie to a degree might wind up costing Io, or even maybe Rhea might even wind up costing Io. And I feel like Stephanie really might win this title. I would love it if Stephanie won, simply because it would just give us something new. Because even tonight on Raw, we had Rhea walk up to Stephanie and say, "Look, it doesn't matter which one of you win, I'm coming for you in that title." And we haven't seen Stephanie Vaquer versus Rhea Ripley. That's something new. Even though I know they would continue, it would be cool for them to continue sort of like the story of Io and Rhea and their friendship and how the title, you know, gets flung into that, especially from a full circle point of view, because they both lost the title at Evolution because of that cash in and all of the above. Um, and it throws a wrench in their friendship. I just want Stephanie to win because because it would just give us something new in terms of the title picture, and then Io can figure everything out with Asuka and then figure everything out with Rhea and be friends with her and then just be okay with that. But my prediction is that Stephanie Vaquer is going to win and become the new women's world champion. And have new stories and new fights to have because I'm just really pumped about her. I love her. She's a star. And I'm biased because her name is also Stephanie. And it's just a lot. But I'm predicting that Stephanie Vaquera is going to win. So, yeah, that's my prediction for that. And of course, I know this isn't a this isn't really a women's match in the traditional sense, but this is a mixed tag match. We got a mixed match challenge between the Golden Couple, World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins, and Women's Intercontinental Champion Becky Lynch, going up against the grizzled best in the world CM Punk and his beloved AJ Lee. My God, on today. If you had told me months ago that AJ Lee would come back after 10 years and be in a match with her husband, I would have just stared at you like, I wouldn't have believed it. But this is where we are. And I am so happy that this is happening. And of course, we did see their interaction tonight, which was pretty heated, but a little bit lightweight for the most part in terms of what they, really could say to each other. Like they could really like cut each other. But at the same time, I'm still very much enjoying what they're putting down. And in speaking of putting down, I'm gonna need for Seth Rollins to not call AJ Lee a little girl. Like, okay, you're tall and I'm pretty sure you're big and tall only because you're wearing high heels. So, sweetie, I'm gonna really need for you to chill on AJ Lee and stop acting like she isn't the reason why your wife, isn't a part of the reason why your wife can succeed the way she can. Because literally, AJ left right before Becky made her debut with Charlotte and Mercedes, as part of the women's evolution. So I'm going to need for you to put some respect on AJ's name. And then, of course, he disrespected her by trying to mansplain wrestling to her and all of the above last week. And I'm just like, Seth, you're trash. You're really trash. So I'm predicting that CM Punk and AJ Lee are going to win. And I think that AJ Lee is really going to impress us and show us that even though it's been 10 years since we've seen her in a WWE ring, that she isn't rusty at all. She's going to show us that she has no ring rust. She is still that girl. She is still mother. And I'm ready for it. I am so ready for it. So I'm predicting Punk and Lee will win and be the dominant wrestling couple. And I'm also predicting that eventually or the next week, AJ will challenge Becky for that IC title and take it off of her. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Lee and Punk, let's go. So now we move into the men's side of things. We have the reunited Usos versus Braun Squared. That's what I'm calling them. Yeah, they're called the Vision, but I will call them Braun Squared from here on out because there's just the fact that one is named Bronson Reed and the other one is Braun Breaker. It's just like, were y'all how how did that happen? But either way, Braun Squared. Now, normally in this situation, I would go with the Usos based off of their chemistry because they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time. But I'm almost scared to a certain degree that Braun Squared might actually win simply because Jay and Jimmy are just not on the same page. They're just not. And they're getting heated at each other in a way that's very reminiscent of like the peak bloodline story. And it's breaking my heart because you see Jay, who wants to be at the top of the mountain again so bad that he's almost willing to throw his brother to the side for it. And it's just really frustrating for me. Like, y'all worked on y'all relationship and reunited and all of this just for y'all to go down this same road again. And I low key feel like it's all Roman Reigns' fault because he put the battery in Jay's back to even act like this. It sucks. Like, it sucks so hard. And you have the Vision who's just out here just acting all kinds of crazy. And it's just like, bruh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I'm just heartbroken about it. Oh, it's so hard. But and I hate to even do this, but I really feel like Team Braun Squared is gonna win, and it's gonna have to do with the Usos communication breaking down again, and it's just gonna hurt really bad. So it's gonna hurt, but I think that's really what's gonna happen. Also, Jay, I'm gonna need for you to chill and not talk to your older brother like that. Okay? Stop it. As an older sibling, that really got to me. I was just like, ugh. And then when Jimmy said the part about the Ula follow around his neck, like that gagged me. But then I'm just like, now Jimmy, if you really wanted to get him together, you could have said I'm the oldest. But then Jay probably would just say about 5 minutes or whatever. But twins. Yeah, that's what I predict. It's Braun squared. And then of course we have Cody Rhodes, our undisputed WWE champion, going up against Drew McIntyre. I'm predicting that Cody Rhodes is going to win because honestly, Drew McIntyre is just too much of a crash out to really focus and lock in when it matters most. So I'm predicting that Cody Rhodes is going to retain the title and kick all kinds of butt and everything's going to be fine. And that's really all I have to say about that. And also, I just want to say congratulations because Cody and Brandy had another baby. And in the midst of that time, I didn't get a chance to talk about it. But yeah, congrats to him. And also congrats to him on that Street Fighter movie. I can't wait to see it because that at one point was one of my favorite video games to play with my boyfriend. So, I think it's going to be really cool. So, big ups. And I feel like someone in the comments is asking about that. Okay, Malcolm said, "What's your take on Cody playing Guile and Roman playing Akuma in the live action Street Fighter reboot?" I'm okay with it. I'm literally okay with it. I can't wait to see what they do. I think that these two are just rivals. Their journeys are just so intertwined that I just find it funny from a wrestling and real life perspective that these two are in this movie together, and I'm wondering if they're gonna fight in the movie. I just I I feel like those two are like one of the great rivalries of our lives. And I just have to know if they're gonna fight against each other in the movie. I just have to know. But I have an open mind about it. I'm excited about it. And because it's a reboot, I don't really know. I've never seen the first version of Street Fighter with that movie. I've never seen it, but I just know the video game itself. But either way, I'm really excited about it and it's gonna be cool. So yeah. Prediction, Cody. We're going with Cody. He's gonna win. Drew is a crash out. He can't do it. That's it. And finally, I just want to talk about John Cena. Um, he's wrestling at WrestlePalooza, but we're not talking about Bruno right now. So, I just wanted to talk and tell a story about a funny experience me and Dad had this past Friday with talking about John Cena and my fandom of him as a child. So, me and my dad were talking and reminiscing about how he had on how John Cena had his Chain Gang Soldier t-shirts and how dad basically explained to me what a Chain Gang Soldier was and how I didn't care. And how basically back then I did not give a crap what it actually meant in the grand scheme of life, and how I just really just wanted the t-shirt because it was John Cena and because I loved him so much and still do. And he was just like, "You really just did not listen to me." And I was like, "Well, no, Dad, because I wanted to be happy. And in order for me to be happy, I just wanted you to buy me the shirt." I didn't care. I just didn't care. And there are just so many memories that I have when it comes to me and my dad fighting about John Cena that it's just been my whole life. And tonight it just really hurt me when he said he only has 6 dates left. And I'm just not ready for him to go. Even with hearing him talk about him playing football, first of all, for Springfield College, and just his journey and everything. And I'm just like, I'm still not ready for this man to leave me. I'm just not. I'm just not. I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared for him to go. I'm just not. I feel like when he actually does like wrap it up, I'm gonna cry, and I'm gonna need for y'all to pray for me and send me to your nearest, dearest black therapist because I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't do it. So those are all of my predictions for WrestlePalooza. I'm really excited about it, like I said earlier, and I can't wait to see, what it entails. And it's gonna be fun. I'm really pumped about it. So now we're gonna move into what I liked in wrestling this week. And of course, I formatted this episode to talk about everything that happened last week, but of course, with me talking about Raw, I'm going to talk about last week's Raw and this week's Raw mixed in together. So, yeah. So, of course, Lyra Valkyria, had a match against Raquel Rodriguez last week of the Judgment Day because she just wanted to fight somebody. And she wanted to fight any member of the Judgment Day in terms of women because they were just getting on her nerves. And her and Raquel had a heck of a match last week. And I mean, it was really, really good. Raquel has been operating on a level that I hadn't really seen from her since her NXT days. And it's just amazing to witness. Like she's always been a powerhouse, most definitely. But just the idea of watching her, go more into her powers as a powerhouse wrestler is just really cool. And I can't wait to see more of what she has to offer. I honestly believe that at some point she should be women's world champion. Like she really should. Off of the basis of her hard work and just her presence, not just in the Judgment Day, but just as an imposing force. Like she's amazing, and just with everything she's risen from in terms of her sickness and everything, like she's just a powerhouse and a half. And then Lyra just continues to be an amazing athlete. And of course, Lyra was kicking butt tonight against Roxanne because, of course, as a nerd, I did see them, wrestle at NXT Stand and Deliver in Philadelphia, and they tore the house down. And of course, Roxanne wound up beating her for that NXT Women's title. So to see them fight again tonight was pretty amazing. It was a technical masterpiece. So, and Lyra wound up winning, and she wound up getting attacked, and then Bailey wound up hugging her, which was really cool. But, well, not hugging her, but just helping her, and then yelling at her. But still, it was just nuts. But either way, we had two great matches over the span of the past 2 weeks, and involving Lyra Valkyria and the women of the Judgment Day, and I just think that's awesome. And of course, we have to send congratulations. Well, no, not congratulations. That's not what I want to talk about here. I just remembered there was something else that happened last week that just gagged the crap out of me. Miss Roxanne, little Miss Roxanne is being bad. And by being bad, I hope y'all know what I mean. Because last week, Dominic was being bothered and everything by what was going on between him and Finn. And then she was just like, okay, I'll go talk to him. And then she ran off to go talk to Dominic by themselves. And then, of course, he went on to win the AAA Mega Championship this weekend. And I'm just looking like, what did y'all have to talk about? Were you actually talking or were you locking lips? Like, what's going on? Like, I really feel like we're really about to get the story again of Dominic being real dirty and leaving Liv for Roxanne because she brought him chicken nuggets and now she's trying to talk to him and be a moral support or whatever, which is essentially what Finn brought her in for in the first place. Oh Jesus, it's gonna be a mess and a half when it finally blows up. But when Roxanne left from backstage and said, "Let me talk to Dom, let me talk to Dom," and I'm just like, "Girl, you ain't talking to him. Y'all ain't talking. Y'all making trouble, and y'all know y'all is." But we gonna leave that alone for now. But I see the writing on the wall, and it is ugly. It's gonna get real ugly real soon. And then, of course, last week we had AJ's return to Raw in 10 years. This was a blessing. AJ Lee is a blessing. Her entire promo was fantastic. It was so cute how she said she came back wearing. She didn't think she would ever come back and wear shorts that were two sizes too small for her. And she talked about how she apologized for retiring first of all, and I was like, "Girl, don't apologize for retiring. You did what you thought was best at the time." And she said at the time she thought she had made all her dreams come true, and she didn't think there was anything, left for her to prove at that point. And she did other things, but then most importantly, she took care of her mental health. And she went to therapy, and she actually started a therapy chant, which I thought was really important and really amazing in the grand scheme of wrestling, because there have been so many people, who have succumbed to so many things in wrestling, whether they're the athletes or wherever, or even fans. And a lot of it may or may not have had anything to do with mental health. And we have to learn how to take care of our minds the same way we take care of our bodies and get checkups for, different things with our bodies. Our mind is a part of that. And I'm so happy that she brought her advocacy to the forefront in that way. And then for her to do it on the same week that Ariana Grande also talked about thanking therapy for her breakthrough in music with her other album, I feel like Therapist just really had an all time week last week. And I just loved that AJ was honest about it. And she talked about how, you matter, and how people, really just need to stay here and just matter. And I'm just like, that's just so amazing. I'm so happy that she did that. Because if you knew her journey, oh my gosh, read her book. Read her book. Because, yo, she's been through some things, but she's come out on the other side, and she is a hero. And then, of course, her and Becky and Seth had their interactions or whatnot, and he decided to mansplain wrestling to her, and she clocked him for it at the same time that I clocked him for it, because I was watching it and I was just like, "Oh, so you just gonna mansplain it to her?" And then she said the same thing right after me, and I was like, "Yes!" Me and AJ on the same page. I love it. But yeah, I was just like, Seth is just being a complete butthole to her, and he was a butthole to her tonight. But it's okay. She popped him for it, so we good. And in speaking of people standing and just, you have Bailey, who had on an AJ Lee t-shirt. She came to save Lyra Valkyria, like I said, and then her hugger persona took over and she started hugging everybody, including Corey Graves and Joe Tessitore and Alicia and different fans and all of the above, because she just has her differing personalities trying to take over her brain at certain points. But she wanted to make it right with Lyra, like she said last week. So that's what she tried to do. But then her angry crash out, ding dong hello side of her screamed at Lyra tonight. And she was just like, bruh, why would you come into my locker room? Why would you do that? For all you know, I could have been dressing. What's wrong with you? And then she stormed off. So Bailey really is kind of just crashing out and just trying to figure out who she is. But I'm a part of me is just hoping that she would just stay the hugger, because tonight, watching her fight with the Judgment Day and basically give a Bailey to Belly to I can't remember if it was Raquel or Roxanne, but she gave a Bailey to Belly to Raquel, and then she did the woo, and then the elbow to Roxanne. It was just so nice to see that again, because it's been so long since we've seen that version of Bailey. So a part of me like kind of just hopes that she kind of just keeps that version, because I miss Hugger Bailey so much. But we just have to wait and see. We really do. But Bailey is that girl, and and she has been for a while. And I just can't wait to see what more she has in store for us with this crash out version of herself. But I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Hugger Bailey, because that's my girl and that's just me. So, yeah, hopefully we'll figure that out. And then, of course, we have, like I mentioned earlier in my WrestlePalooza predictions, we have Asuka getting into it with Nikki Bella. These two had a pretty solid match last week. And of course, Nikki was walking backstage, but then Asuka decided to rub her face in the fact that she beat her and all of the above. But then Kyrie was just trying to hold her back, and they got into it. But then all of a sudden, the camera, pans out, and then you hear, "Oi, what's going on?" And it turns out to be Rhea, looking like a beautiful, gothic Amazon goddess, like she always does, and she evens up the odds against Nikki, and then she defends her and everything. And the thing that I just can't get over is just the fact that Asuka is just being very controlling. She's coming off as either a controlling parent or a controlling like boyfriend who's just like, or just that just says no, stay away from Io and you can't hang out with her and all the above. And it's just so heartbreaking. Like, girl, why are you being this possessive over someone who has autonomy over who she decides she wants to be around? Like, it's just so crazy. Like, why are you this cagey over Io? It's just really nuts for me. It's really nuts. But another thing that I will say is that um Rhea and Io's friendship reminds me a lot of the interaction between Kitty and Bunny from Courage the Cowardly Dog. I feel like if you are a millennial who watched Courage the Cowardly Dog on Cartoon Network, you might specifically remember this episode where Kitty was in this white mask and she was beating up on Courage because she thought all dogs were evil because her best friend Bunny was taken away by this gangster dog. And Bunny at one point was kind of like in love or whatever, but the gangster dog was just not good for her. And so Courage helped Kitty to get Bunny back, and then they ran away together and then ran away from the big bully dog. And I feel like the interactions that we've seen from Rhea and Io since Evolution has definitely been giving Kitty and Bunny. And it's kind of like, I want to be friends with you, but then you also have this angry person who's just always in the way. And that's Asuka. And it's just so bad. Like, why are you being this possessive over Io and Kyrie? It's nuts. But I do like the layering of storytelling and the layering of friendship and how they're blurring the lines between Rhea and Io kind of coming off as either a couple or a secret couple or like a secret friendship. I don't know. But I do like the way that there's this feminine friendship that's being shown in this way. Like, whoever is writing and creating this is just kicking ass at it. And I and I just really love it. So, but then a part of me is worried because Rhea told Stephanie that, look, if regardless to who wins between you and Io, I'm coming for you. So what does this mean? Does she value the championship more than her friendship with Io? Like, I just don't know. It's very emotional. But I love this form of storytelling. Like, I like it a lot. And yeah, Rhea and Io are basically the Kitty and Bunny of Monday Night Raw. And I just love that the women's stories are being pushed out to the forefront a bit more on Monday Night Raw than ever. I like that a lot. I appreciate it. And also, Kyrie's outfit gagged me last week. That golden, shimmery disco, everything gave me everything I needed. I loved it. Like, this is an outfit that I would absolutely wear. I love it so much. She looks like a mirror ball, and it's perfect. She's perfect. And I just don't want her to be caught in the middle of this because she sounded like she was crying tonight. And I was just like, look, don't make Kyrie cry. Please stop it. But moving into the men's side of things for Raw, AJ Styles is in a weird place um when it comes to his career now. Last week when Raw was on commercial on Netflix for the United States rather, he got on the microphone and just started talking about how someone didn't want him here. And I was just like, who are you talking about? And a lot of people were speculating that it could be somebody backstage or whatever because the way he said it gave off the impression that he wasn't supposed to be saying it. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I hope that isn't the case because AJ Styles has just been so excellent for so long that it would break my heart if somebody working in WWE wouldn't want him to be there. That just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. And honestly, I would prefer if he were the one fighting a certain retiring man this weekend, but that's neither here nor there. I also feel weird that now you have Rusev getting into the mix of things when it comes to the Intercontinental title and Dominic, and you have AJ who's been fighting tooth and nail to actually get an opportunity to beat Dominic for that title, and yet his chances are just gone now. It just bothers me to a degree. But I just want AJ to know that I love and appreciate him, and ain't nobody breaking that redneck. I mean, seriously, come on. Let's give AJ his things now, please. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. And then when it comes to Jay, like I mentioned earlier, his transformation is really scaring me. And the reason why it's scaring me with the way he speared LA Knight and then with him fighting with LA Knight and just being selfish and just not being as confident in himself and his abilities, it's interesting that I just really hate it because of course he wants to be on top and everything, and I completely understand wanting to be on top once you've tasted that glory on your own. I get it, but like I said earlier, you can't push away the people who love you and the people who helped you get there. You can't push away the fans, you can't push away your family. You can't push away the core of who you are just because you feel like it's not working right now. Just because it's not working right now doesn't mean it can't work later. And I just don't want Jay to just go down this dark road where it looks like he's going down. And then I found it very interesting that that 4 maybe 5 years ago in my um Instagram memories, I shared a picture of Jay and Roman Reigns looking at the Universal title and just staring at each other during their feud. And I was just like, holy cow, is this where we're going now? Is this where we're going now? Has Roman put the battery in Jay's back to make him wanna, you know, be like him so he could have that air again? Like, is Roman just trying to get his claws back into the bloodline so he can take control or try to like guide Jay to be the top guy? Or what is happening? What is happening? There is something cooking, and it's slow and it's nuts and it's gonna drive me insane. But either way, it's something crazy about to happen. But ooh, I just don't want Jay to go down a dark road. But it's looking like that's what's about to happen. And it makes me sad. No. Okay. But that was all I liked from Raw this week and last week. So we're just gonna move into NXT. And when it comes to the NXT women, there's somebody that I have been wanting to discuss for a minute, and it is Lainey Reed. She is so promising. She's so beautiful, but most of all, she is from Alabama, just like me. I am so happy that Lainey Reed is from Alabama, just like me. She's got that big Bama energy. So if you've been watching NXT and you've been seeing her, of course, this past episode, she moved forward in the women's WWE Speed tournament against Fabi Apache, who was distracted by Natty. And I was just really excited to see her promo because within her promo, she was talking about sweet tea, and being southern and all of the above, and it just made me feel so good because I'm just like, oh my god, Lainey, I feel you. I feel you. I just loved her references to certain things I just got, and I was just like, Lainey, I love you. She's from Gaston, Alabama, and of course that's about an hour away from here, from Birmingham. So I'm just really happy to see someone else rather, from Alabama make it that far in wrestling. And I hope she continues to go far because her athleticism is really great and I just love her. So big ups to Lainey Reed, big ups to that Big Bama energy, and I can't wait to see more of what you have to offer. Cause yes, ma'am, Alabama. I love it. Now, something that's not Alabama, however, is Blake Monroe and her crash out dark era. Miss Mamas was in a bathtub crying her mascara out, and she was talking about how she wants Jordan Grace, how Jordan Grace basically unleashed a level of hell within her that nobody ever recognized or that she tried to bury. And when she was talking about burying that part of herself, I was just thinking about all of the evil craziness that she used to get into in AEW and how she used to just destroy people and tried to destroy Timeless Tony Storm and how they bled all over each other and everything. It was just carnage. And with her in the tub like this and talking about how she's going to rain down hell on Jordan Grace, a part of me was like, are we going to see the first ever NXT Hell in a Cell match between these two? I feel like that would be amazing, even though I know that they reserve Hell in a Cell now for just very special cases. I feel like this case actually calls for it because these two women hate each other a lot and they keep fighting each other. They keep finding each other in their crosshairs, and I just need for them to fight in Hell in a Cell. It would just be awesome if they did that. Or even if it's just a steel cage because it's NXT and that's like a small facility. That would be great too, but an NXT Hell in a Cell match would give me everything I need. So, hey, you never know. But I just think that an NXT Hell in a Cell could work for these two. I feel like that's the only thing that's going to settle it. Plus, I want some gold around Jordan Grace's waist. Please. Thank you. And speaking of gold, I'm sad because it looks like we're reaching the end of Zaruka. I loved Soul Ruka and Zaruka, and not Zaruka, and Zarya together. And it looks like with the misunderstanding that Soul Ruka had with Zarya with that accidental soul snatcher, which got them eliminated from contention for the women's tag team titles. It's the end, and it makes me sad because there's been two times where Zarya has speared Soul Ruka by accident, and Soul Ruka has forgiven her. Whereas on social media, Soul, you know, apologized and said that she was trying to call Zarya, but then Zarya wasn't answering her calls. And that made me sad, but it didn't surprise me because Zarya was talking about how she wanted gold around her waist. And who's the easiest target? Soul, because she is the NXT Women's North American Champion. And people have also been hankering for Zarya to get some gold as well. So it's looking like it's the end, but these two were so amazing together and it's breaking my heart. But yeah, dang it. It sucks. And speaking of friendships falling apart, we have fatal influence on the struggle bus. These three ladies here are on the struggle bus because last week Fatal Influence tried to also qualify to become number one contenders for the women's tag team titles held by Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. And with them, getting ready to fight each other, of course, JC Jane, the NXT Women's Champion, has been on them and hounding them and pressuring them to be at their best, only for them to fail. And then after they failed, she cuts a promo on the both of them talking about how terrible of the job they are and how they've embarrassed her and how they will be nothing without her, which was breaking news to me because I could have swore Fallon Henley was the reason why you are the NXT Women's Champion. It's not like you beat Stephanie Vaquer on your own. That's the reason why we were so shocked because hello, you didn't win it on your own. You won it with Fallon. Be serious. And before Jasmine and Fallon could say anything to keep up for themselves, they get interrupted by these three epic women. Because, of course, JC Jane put her foot in her mouth by calling herself the greatest NXT Women's Champion of all time. And considering NXT Homecoming is tomorrow, um, you had three of the best NXT Women's Champions pop up. One of them being Stephanie, which of course sent Booker T over the edge, saying that he needed to pop his neck. And then of course you had Tiffany Stratton come out, looking amazing per usual as the women's champion. And then Mommy comes out, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" But as it turns out, Ava announced on social media that Tiffany Stratton is not medically cleared after her match that she had with Jade for the women's championship and the attack on her and the attack from Nia Jax. So her place is being taken by Lyra Valkyria, which I'm not mad about. But yeah, these three, it was like the three most beautiful women ever getting together and forming like a super team. It's like Charlie's Angels. It was just really cool. So I loved this and I loved how they were fighting and I loved the first version of the match, even though Tiffany can't fight now. It makes me sad because that would have been awesome. But you know, it's fine. I'm still excited about NXT Homecoming though, because it's gonna be lit. And also just to say, the greatest NXT Women's Champion was Mercedes Moné / Sasha Banks. Just throwing that out there. I know other people have their opinions, but y'all know where I stand. Mercedes is the greatest. Moving on. I loved the segment that they did on Lola Vice because, of course, now she is the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship and she will face off against JC Jane at No Mercy. They did a whole thing on her talking about her background and she was talking about how growing up, she really didn't have a lot of friends. So when she did have close relationships, they mean the most to her. And then she talked a lot about her background in martial arts, with her father also being a martial arts instructor in Miami. So that was really cool. And then her sister popped up in it too. And it was just really amazing to see another side of Lola Vice outside of just the fighter um, who dances. Like, it was just really cool to see her fire and her motivation and her heart as well. And this made me want to root for her so bad. I was just like, you know what? Because of this segment, I want Lola to win. Let Lola win some gold, please, because I feel like she's been trying to reach for gold for the longest, and then she's been working really hard between NXT and AAA. So if JC were to lose it to Lola, I wouldn't be mad about it at all. She's great, and she's been great for a while. So I want her to win. Big ups to Lola Vice. You're amazing. You're beautiful. You're gorgeous. Um, and I just want you to win super bad. So, yeah. Now, when it comes to the men of NXT, when I tell you this right here grabbed my soul and wouldn't let it go, y'all know Trick and Mellow Gang was my favorite in NXT 2.0. They were my favorites. And seeing them back together, if only for a short while, and watching them get in the face of DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, healed my spirit. Because of course DIY and Trick were having their little back and forth, but then Trick was like, "Oh, y'all think y'all the only ones who's got NXT history? I got some history too." And he popped up with Carmelo, and I was like, "Yes, Lord." This is the game I love. But what's so funny is Trick was acting like Carmelo was just gonna be on his side all willy nilly, like everything was good. But Carmelo was like, "Look, I know we've had our differences in the past, but you're not gonna disrespect DIY and everything they built." Because he basically said that DIY, of course, built the house that you're living in, but they built the foundation and you're in my house and rent is due. And I was like, look, y'all need to let Carmelo talk like this on SmackDown, because when he gets people together and gathers them, there is nothing like it. And that is exactly what happened here in NXT. Trick Williams literally was just looking like, oh man, dang, kind of like how it used to be. And because he didn't want it to feel like how it used to be, he kept talking over Carmelo over and over again every time he tried to say something. And I'm just like, Trick, stop talking over Mello. But someone, I believe it was Dre Horizon on Twitter, made an observation that I didn't think about in the moment because I was just so hyped. Dre Horizon basically said that the reason why Trick Williams is talking over Carmelo is because Carmelo being there, being back in NXT with him there, made him feel like the little odd one out again. And I was like, oh my God, I've completely forgot about that, because Trick Williams, in my mind, has accomplished so much that it didn't occur to me that he would feel insecure standing next to Carmelo again. To me, I felt like they were on an even playing field. But to him, to Trick, he might not feel that way. And that's so crazy to me. I told him, like I told Dre, I was like, that's crazy to me because Trick has done so much. He's been an NXT champion twice. He's been a North American champion. He's a TNA champion. Like, sweetie, why do you feel like you need to, you know, act like you something and overcompensate? Like, it's nuts. But and then shout out to Dallas Cash, who got to talk to Sam Roberts about this on his podcast, not Sam. Dallas mentioned from Humble Roses, he mentioned the fact that these two tag teams essentially represent two of the biggest rivalries, two of the biggest friendships turned rivalries in NXT history. And it makes so much sense because if you watched NXT Black and Gold, even though I know it's been over 10 years, please do your research because NXT Black and Gold was the thing. Okay, it was the thing. Baby, it was look, NXT Black and Gold was such a thing that the people on the main roster would hate having to go after them on a pay-per-view weekend. Keep that in mind. But when Johnny and Tommaso fell out, it was something to see. Like when they fell out, it broke my heart to pieces. And when they got back together, it healed something in me. So, and when it comes to NXT 2.0, Carmelo and Trick basically carried NXT 2.0 with their crazy shenanigans and all of the above, only for them to fall apart and now get back together. So it's just really amazing to see the evolution of where NXT started and now where it is, where you have these two different generations facing off against each other. Now, who's gonna win? I don't know. Preferably, I would hope if Carmelo and Trick would win, but I don't. It's hard, but still, yeah. Homecoming's gonna be nuts, and I'm very excited for this tag team match. I'm really pumped. There's so many layers to it, and I'm just pumped about it. Trick and Mellow Gang, I miss y'all so much. And also, this is just my opportunity to just thirst over Dark State because they're so hot. They're amazing. They're an amazing faction. They're all really talented, but they're also all really hot. And it's just too much to handle sometimes. So, yeah, it's crazy. Also, let me just say, I just want to pray for Timeless Tony Storm because she fought in a Philadelphia street fight with Sky Blue and she got her hoo ha stapled. And all I hope is that she's doing okay. because the hoo ha is not meant to be taken staples. It's just not. Like, that's not what that's made for. So I hope that she's okay. And I think that's all I had to say about that. And also, I just wanted to give big ups to Mercedes Moné because not only is she carrying around 9 championships at a time and wrestling on a semi-weekly basis on AEW Dynamite and Collision, but Miss Mamas is also doubling as a fashion model for New York Fashion Week, the same way that Naomi did as well. Like, you cannot say that this isn't a multifaceted queen and a multi-talented queen. And also because the Emmys were last night, they were wrestling Twitter was talking about how basically her and Cope, aka Edge, were basically the only two wrestlers to ever be acknowledged by the Television Academy for their work in other TV shows. And I'm just sick of y'all acting like Mercedes isn't who she thinks she is. She is exactly who she thinks she is. She is the conversation. She is the blueprint. She is the standard and she is a star. And I'm tired of y'all acting like she isn't. I'm tired. And I'm also tired of y'all acting like she doesn't deserve to win all the titles that she deserves to win. Because I can't wait till she wins 10 of them. I literally can't. Now, mind you, when she loses them, of course, it's gonna make the careers of the women who beat her. But honestly, she can do whatever she wants. She deserves everything. As a black woman in wrestling, she deserves everything plus some. And I'm gonna root for her every step of the way. Because that's my girl. Now, when it comes to SmackDown, however, Julia being the Women's United States Championship needs some work. I love that Kiana James is her representation, and I'm happy that Kiana James is finally on television after being drafted and all of the above. But the idea that the United States Championship for the women is only defended on SmackDown when we've seen the IC title defended multiple times on pay-per-views is just absolutely nuts to me. And another thing that's nuts to me is just the fact that, like, I just feel like this title needs to be utilized a whole lot better. The same way we are watching Becky uplift the women's IC title, we need to see that same amount of effort for the United States Championship because since Chelsea won it and then since Zelina won it, I feel like we're seeing it less and less, and it makes no sense. These these titles are historic for the women, and there just needs to be more effort put behind the feuds for them. It feels kind of lazy for me, and it's like an embarrassment to the type of talent that Julia has, and it's an embarrassment to the other talent that's in that SmackDown women's locker room who could very well be going for their title in a more passionate and pointed way. Now, of course, we do have Michin who wants to have an opportunity at the title, and I love that for her because she was in the final two of that tournament when she fought Chelsea for that title, and I would love it if she won it again. But I would also venture to say that Zelina only having one chance to get that title back really sucked. Like, I would have loved for more of a long-term feud as opposed to just having Julia win it and then having that one rematch and then that's just it. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased, but there just needs to be something more for this Women's United States Championship. And I'm hoping that something more can happen real soon. Now, Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton for the Women's Championship was really good. I felt like this match was a little bit better than the one that they had at SummerSlam. It was really good, and I hope that Tiffany is okay. Because of course they did say that she's not medically cleared to compete at NXT Homecoming tomorrow, and I'm just hoping that she's doing all right. But this match was fantastic. And I was really hoping that Jay was going to have an opportunity to get it because I want her to have more singles gold more than anything else because she hasn't had singles gold since she was in AEW as a TBS champion. But she wound up losing. Well, not really losing. It was a double count out, but Tiffany is still the champion. So in the midst of all of this going on, we have Nia Jax coming out to pick the bones of the match and attack both Jade and Tiffany. And this frustrated me to a giant degree because why in the world are we seeing Nia Jax in the title picture again? I understand that there are people who aren't there, like Bianca Belair, who could very well, add more fuel to this. But seeing Nia attack Tiffany for the umpteenth time just irritated me because I'm just like, bruh, what is the point of even having a last woman standing match or even having Tiffany beat Nia in tag team work when she teamed with Trish Stratus at Elimination Chamber? And what was the point of her cashing in on her if you were just going to make her fight her again? And I understand that we've seen multiple matches from the same feuds a lot of times in life, but that doesn't necessarily make it fresh. And seeing Nia attack them just irritated me because I'm like, okay, so you're telling me there are no other women who could possibly challenge Tiffany? Now, mind you, I don't know where Piper Niven is because I feel like that speaks to why Chelsea and Alba are challenging for the tag titles or wanting to challenge for the tag titles. But how come Chelsea isn't challenging for the women's championship? How come Zelina isn't challenging for the championship? Like, there are other feuds that I really feel like could be explored with Tiffany. How come Nikki Cross isn't? Or even how come anyone from NXT isn't doing it just for the sole purpose of shaking something up? Why couldn't Lash Legend challenge Tiffany? Like, I don't know. It's just really nuts to me that they keep circling back to Nia after she's beaten Nia so many times decisively over the course of the last year. It's weird. It's really weird. And I'm just kind of tired of it now. And I just want Jade to be champion. So I don't know. I just don't know. But I just feel like there could be more improvement when it comes to the women of SmackDown. And it's not on the athletes, but it's on the stories that they're having them tell because in comparison to the stories that are happening on Raw, it's like Raw and SmackDown's women's stories are like night and day. It's weird. And I hope they fix it somehow. But moving on. When it comes to the men on SmackDown, Sammy and Ray Phoenix put on a banger, which I feel like is what SmackDown is all about. It's about putting on bangers like this. And these two couldn't have had a better match. They did such a good job. And it was a part of me where it was a couple moments that felt like, wait, is Ray Phoenix about to win this? But Sammy wound up powering through and they shook hands and everything was fine and everything was cool. I was praying that nobody was going to attack Sammy and nobody attacked him. So that was good because he did get attacked by her a lot the week before last, but nobody attacked him afterwards. So that was good. This match was fantastic. And then the fact that Worlds Collide was right after it was just kind of nuts too. So I was like, all this yumminess, it's just really great. And then of course Cody comes back to get in Drew McIntyre's face and put his title on the line for WrestlePalooza. And everybody was making fun of him in the way he said WrestlePalooza. But my thing is, when Cody says a word and when he is serious about it, he is serious about it. And that is my champion. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how angry people are at Cody, crybabies, whatever. Hang on to that grudge as long as you want to. I'm happy that Cody is champion again. And I'm happy that he's also getting swoller, like, because those muscles are bulging. But either way, Cody is my dude, and I'm just happy that he's in the mix again with the title. So yeah. And also another thing with SmackDown with the men that's really driving me crazy, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love the result of it. Carmelo is going out for himself. He's going into business for himself when it comes to the United States Championship because he asked Sami Zayn for an open challenge. And then The Miz was under the impression that he was going to ask for a tag team title match, but Carmelo was like, no, I need to do this for myself. And The Miz did not like it. He didn't like it at all. And as much as I love Carmelo and as much as I would love for him to win the United States Championship more than anything else in this world, I feel like The Miz is going to ruin it somehow. And they're going to have a really big feud and it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool and we're really going to see some stuff out of Carmelo that we haven't seen in a long time. And I'm pumped about it. I'm really pumped about it. And then getting to see him twice in 1 week was really cool too between NXT and SmackDown. I was just like, I'm spoiled. Carmelo, get your things. Melo don't miss supremacy. Please get your things. They're overdue, sir. And then, of course, even though I did not watch Worlds Collide because I had to go to sleep because I had to go to work the next day, I'm happy that Natalya qualified to be number one contender for the Women's World Championship of AAA. Um, and then she didn't even come out as the regular Natalia. She came out under her Natty Neidhart persona, and I was like, it's about time. Show us the craziness. I'm happy for her. I'm very happy for her. And crazy enough, I am happy for Dom too. That he is now king of the luchadors and now he gets to drive us crazy with him being the AAA Mega Champion. But I feel like my biggest mystery is just who are these three Grande Americanos? Because they popped up on Raw tonight. Like, who are these three? I feel like one is Ludwig, the other one is Pete Dunne, and the other one is a mystery dude who's just short. So I don't know who they are. But they keep ruining things for people, and it's just making me upset. But congratulations to Dirty Dom. You're the king of the luchadors, and you're a double champion, and that's cool. So I love it. So that was all that I liked in wrestling this past week. And of course, we've reached the end of our time together. So thank you guys so much for watching live. And of course, if you want to watch this later, you can on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the YouTube. That's the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. Um, with the YouTube, and also share, like, and subscribe to the things. Share any clips that you might see me share on social media. And of course, if you want to follow me, on Instagram and Twitter, you can find me at Queen Steph Hardy, like it says at the bottom of the screen, and follow the podcast, the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. Also, read all of my articles on Daily DDT. I am still working on some new stuff, but my article about AJ Lee being good for the women's roster is out, so please read that. And also, I just want to send a thank you to Raphael for making room for my crazy writing ideas, and hopefully, I can just continue to get better as we go along. And just be on the lookout because you just never know where you might find me or what I might be doing or whatever. It's still Steph Timber, so I'm still celebrating being 32. Ooh. And of course, just I'm just very grateful. So, um, yeah, please continue to support the show. Please continue to support women in wrestling. And also just support anybody from any marginalized community because it just seems like every other day there's always something stupid going on to try to goad us into anger and all the above. But just continue to support and love on one another Also, it's Hispanic Heritage Month. So that's really great. Big ups to all the amazing Hispanic people in my life and also the ones who I enjoy in and out of wrestling as well. And just celebrate yourself and celebrate who you are, regardless of crazy people trying to make you feel bad about it. Because who we are is amazing, and that should be celebrated and not trashed on. So, of course, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. And until next time, bye, y'all.